Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers, and I'm here to help you by answering any type of cloud computing question you may have. I come online 3 times a week to help make sure you can build your absolute best technology career. I'm going to slide forward a little bit. I was a little bit too close to it. See if I can make it so my head doesn't look so funny today. In any case, I've been working in technology now for 25 years, and I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And I want to help you get cloud hired or cloud promoted, because this is my favorite thing to do. For more than 20 years, I've helped people either get hired or promoted in tech, and I absolutely love it. So that's why we're here. So if you want to become a cloud architect, if you desire to become a cloud engineer, if you desire to become a solution architect, if you desire to become an enterprise architect or a network engineer or a network architect, ask your questions. That's exactly why we're here, to help you build the best cloud computing career. See, I know the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and I want to help you get there in a straight line. I've been able to save people probably a decade or two of making the wrong mistakes in their career in the past, and I want to help you do the same. So that's why we're here. So today's a chance for you to ask any cloud computing career questions you may have. So you'll know how to get your first cloud architect job. You'll know how to get your first cloud job, your first cloud engineer job. I just want to get you all hired. So that's why we're here. Before we begin by answering your questions, let's talk about a few things that we have for you to help you in your cloud computing career. For the next week, which is about as long as we can sustain it, we have a 30% off coupon code using coupon code potential. I know things are getting tough out there, and I want to help all of you get hired. That's my main goal, is cloud hired. So if you desire to be a cloud architect, you get 30% off temporarily of our cloud architect career development program. You want to become a cloud engineer? Right now, there's 30% off our cloud engineer career development program. And guess what? If you want an interview coaching, it's 30% off of our tech interview mastery program. And if you're already working in tech and you're trying to elevate your career by moving up to management, we even have the Tech Career Accelerator program. Right now, all are 30% off. So there's that. Now, next week, we're going to do a free certification bootcamp. Now, there's a big difference between getting certified and getting hired by a huge margin, but you still got to get certified along the way too. And to that end, we want to save you as much money as possible and help you get the best training. We're going to run a completely free Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp next week, and it's going to be fun, and it's going to be like a real classroom. See, I know most people can't afford $4,000 or $5,000 for a 1-week bootcamp, and that's what quality training costs. And quality training means somebody's going to present that's got experience and expertise in the industry, and they will actually answer your questions as well. That's real training, and that's why we run our boot camps. We're going to have 20 minutes of teaching, 10 minutes of questions for the whole time. And that way it's a live experience and we can make you better. We would never, ever subject you to the torture of PowerPoint slides with voiceover. This is going to be live training like you'd get at a real elite program anywhere in the world, and we're going to do it free. So sign up for next week's free Azure Solutions Architect Bootcamp. Tell your friends. And if you're not a member, tell other friends. That, because we want to get the world cloud hired as cheaply as possible. So please join us in the completely free Azure Solutions Architect Expert Bootcamp next week. Last thing that I wanted to tell you is join us for the How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. We do it every Thursday. People come from all around the world, and they're always so thankful and grateful. We will tell you everything that you need to know to get your first cloud architect job. We can help you very easily. And we know what to do. We get people cloud hired every day. Every day we've got someone, so let us help you get cloud hired. So at this point, if you've got some questions, bring them into the chat box and ask them, because I would want to help you. And while we begin, give me a hashtag cloud hired so that I know you're awake, alert, and oriented. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and hit the bell and hit the like button to signal the algorithm what we're doing is good. So at this point, ask your questions and give me that cloud hired, and we'll be answering your questions. Mohammed, hello, Mike. I have 3 questions, and I hope you can help me with them. I'd love to help you with them. As long as they're career questions, I'd love to help you with them. Milan, so good to see you. I'm happy to see you. Cloud hired. Milan's a fantastic cloud architect, I know. A wonderful, wonderful architect. Great to see you. Mohammed, first, how are you doing today? Hope fine. I'm actually doing great today. I got to spend some time with my wife and see my cat, so it's been a really great day. You're asking about the chances of getting a full remote job and cloud career. Is it a little bit easy like software development career jobs? Mohammed, getting a cloud job is probably the easiest thing in the entire world to do right now. And here's the reason. Everything is going from the network in the data center to the cloud. And the reality is there's huge demand. So getting remote jobs is easy. I can remember in the middle of COVID, somebody reached out to me. They wanted to pay over $300,000 a year for me to deal with a client that was in Japan. And the only requirements of the job were you'd have to be up during Japanese hours. So for me, that's not an option. So I called one of my best friends in Bangalore, India, and said, Raj, are you interested? And for that. So the answers of getting a fully remote cloud career is not hard at all. And I think we're going to see a lot more fully remote cloud jobs coming soon. Now, certain jobs are more amenable to being remote than others. Any kind of engineering is very good for remote because it doesn't matter if my engineer is in Abu Dhabi or Athens, Greece, or Annapolis, Maryland. It really doesn't matter. So the point is as long as the work is done and there's quality. Now, there is the concept of language. Language is going to have to be there. So if you're doing work that's local to your country and only local to your country or region, then whatever natural language is there is totally fine. In the international space, as a rule, I'd say English becomes pretty needed. Now, if I'm going to do all my business in Greece, I can get away speaking Greek, which is perfect for me because I speak Greek in the home. But if, for example, I was in Greece in my nice little village, my happy village with like 5,000 people in it, really nice place, friendly people. But if I was in my village in Greece and I wanted to really work remotely, I'd have to do it in English because I would be doing some work in England and some work in Europe and some work in Canada and some work in the US, some work in Australia. So wherever the work actually is. And Mohammed, a lot of the work that I've always done in my career is actually in the Middle East. Now, I've done most of that in English as well. So there's that. But I've done a lot of work in that region as well. Had incredible amounts of fun. Enjoyed it thoroughly. But yes, you can absolutely get jobs remotely, especially engineering jobs, cloud engineering jobs. Yeah. DevOps engineering jobs, sure. Software engineering jobs, yes. All that stuff is remote. And I see more of that stuff going from office to remote in the future because it doesn't matter where people are. Mohammed, that's a great question. Sounds like you have a couple others, so I'd be thrilled to answer all of them if you desire. Mohammed, secondly, is it a good idea to get 3 AWS associate certifications? No, Mohammed, that is the worst idea I have ever seen in my entire life. And I know that 3 sets of people that are pushing this, and these are 3 certification providers that are going to basically say, here, I got no way to help you at all. I don't know how to do the job myself. So if I shove you full of certifications, then you're going to have a portfolio. Here's the problem, Mohammed. All of these certifications are for different careers. An architect is a systems designer. We design, present, and sell. And when you're looking for an architect, for example, you're looking for an executive that walks tall, talks tall, that's got executive presence, CXO relevancy, leadership skills, sales skills, emotional intelligence, and CXO relevancy, etc. So that's the brand of the architect, a powerful leader. Now, I want you to think about these associate certifications. Like an architect like me, I don't code or touch the technology. And if I took the developer associate as an architect, it tells the whole world I am not an architect. I want to be a software developer. So it tells the world not to hire me, and it dramatically lowers my salary. Likewise, if I were to do a sysops or maintenance course as an architect, it makes me look even worse because now I look like the maintenance person instead of the lead system designer. And DevOps, which is a great career in and of itself, is not something that architects do. So again, that makes me look worse. So Mohammed, 2 certifications. First, don't do associate certifications. They are a waste of your time, effort, and money. You may need to do one on the way. Mohammed, here's what an associate certification means to the employer. I almost know enough to do the job, but I'm not hireable yet. So getting 5 times that is, for example, if you went to kindergarten or first grade 5 times, you'd say, I went to first grade 5 times, Mr. Hiring Manager. And the hiring manager would say, yes, but I need somebody with a master's degree, and it's not someone that's got experience in kindergarten. So getting a bunch of associate certifications is career suicide. I recommend against it, against it, against it, against it, against it. What I recommend, Muhammad, is that you determine the actual career that you want, exact career, and then you plot a course. So, for example, a cloud architect might get 2 certifications, an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, and maybe a CCNP or a Cisco Networking Professional. Or maybe the cloud architect wants to focus on security. So maybe they get a CISSP as well as the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. Again, we're not wasting our time on any of these mini AWS certifications. They're almost worthless, these associate things. So we're getting something big, and here's the reason it matters. So Muhammad, take something silly like the AWS Advanced Networking. We can fit that all into a 300-page book. Now take a Cisco Certified Network Professional, which teaches networking for real. That's about 10,000 pages of content. So every hiring manager like me and all the ones I speak to see 5 and 6 as AWS certifications and say, somebody's trying to get certifications. They're a jack of all trades, a master of none. They have hobbyist knowledge in a million things, but no real knowledge in anything, can't hire. And Muhammad, I'm going to tell you this. When I take in students that have 5 and 6 certifications and they go on 3 and 4 interviews and they're not hired, I ask them, do you mind if I remove your developer associate, your SysOps associate, and your DevOps associate? And Muhammad, they usually complain to me. I worked hard on this. And I say, well, you're not getting interviewed. How can I remove these garbage certifications from your portfolio? I do, and all of a sudden they get a huge job because it's about the brand. So the key is, Muhammad, if you want to be a cloud architect, study architect things. Now, if you want to be a cloud engineer, again, I don't want you to waste your time on these certifications. If you want to be a cloud engineer, I want you to learn the network and the data center, which is what you're going to be dealing with. We take the stuff from the network and the data center to the cloud. So what are we dealing with architects and engineering? It's the kind of tech they really need to know. Networking stuff, BGP, interior gateway protocols such as OSPF or intermediate systems to intermediate systems, IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting, WAN technologies such as SSL-based VPNs, IPsec-based VPNs, Ethernet over MPLS, Ethernet private lines, for example, a software-defined networking and SASE. We're talking about switching, which includes spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, etc. We're talking about DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy ARP. None of this stuff is going to be covered in any of those certifications, but it's what you need to know to do the job. QoS, traffic engineering. Now, it also means knowledge of the data center stuff. Servers and server virtualization and containers and container orchestration and VPN concentrators for remote access and block storage and object storage and file storage, how it works in depth, not the silly business that's covered in the Certified Solution Architect Professional. We're talking about depth here. And so for that, and knowledge of databases, when to use relational databases versus when to use NoSQL databases, how to tune the databases and optimize their performance. What kind of load balancer to use, when are you using a network load balancer, an application load balancer, when do you use both and stack them for reasons that you need to for performance. So these are those kind of things. In fact, today we had an article that was published in, for example, Hacker Noon magazine. There's about 30 of these articles probably, or 20, I can't even remember, where we're out there talking, and we did it in DevOps magazine, we did it in Information Week, we did it in all the main publications showing people why the certifications are not the path. And they're publishing our content, these big publications, for a reason. They want to help people get hired, and they know certifications aren't the way to do it anymore. So there's that. So if the architect, so those two skills are common between the engineers and the architect. Now, Muhammad, the architect doesn't touch the tech. So the architect would need stellar presentation skills, lots of emotional intelligence, executive presence, leadership skills, sales skills, negotiation skills. That's the architect side. Now, if it was an engineer by comparison, they still need those network and data center skills, but then they need real Linux knowledge and how to administer Linux and set it up and optimize and maybe even lock it down. Now, if they're the engineer, they're going to need to know some scripting, some bash scripting, some Python scripting. Not an architect, we don't touch that stuff, but an engineer will. And an engineer will also need to know some infrastructure as code. So Muhammad, as you can see, I got a cloud architect who designs, presents, and sells, and I got a cloud engineer that builds, and builds. And their skill set is so different than each other. And because their skill set is so different than each other, they need very different training. They need very different resumes. So Muhammad, I'll end it on this with this question. If you had a pilot that was flying an airplane and you were in the airplane and the airplane was over the ocean, and 3 out of 4 of the engines on the airplane failed, and you got caught in the worst thunderstorm and turbulence in the world, who would you like to have fly your airplane? Somebody that was in the military flying airplanes for 20 years, that as a hobby was flying, acrobatic things, that then took 20 more years of training and has been working as that pilot and did nothing else since the time they were 20 years old. By comparison, we got a hobbyist pilot. This hobbyist pilot is a physician who is also an attorney, who likes accounting, that also likes to race dogs and has a cat farm in his house. Now that's the pilot. With who do you want flying the plane? The expert one with a real knowledge on only their world, or somebody that spread themselves too thin, tried to learn 20 different careers, and in the end knows nothing about their career. So focus on your career, not somebody else's, and watch your career take off like a rocket ship. It's an excellent question. Lastly, you hear some people speak about cloud-native application architecture. What is this topic, please, and what should I be aware of? Mohammed, there's 2 ways that we can move to the cloud. There's what 90% of customers do, which is lift and shift, and then there's cloud native. Lift and shift is the most common because it means this. I go to my customer, I'll go enter their data center, and they've got 10,000 virtual machines. I take those 10,000 virtual machines and I bring them straight to the cloud. I can stick it in 3 clouds, and I've got high levels of wonderful, wonderful performance. I don't need to do any application architecture work. I don't need to pay anybody to do anything, and it moves me to the cloud in 2 minutes. Now, Mohammed, I go to the cloud provider, they raise my rates by 50%. I get right off that cloud, I suck my stuff back into my data center, and there's nothing. I go to the cloud provider, and they raise my rates, and I say, okay, bye, cloud provider, I'm going to your competition for a 20% discount. We can do all that when we don't go cloud native. But cloud native is making your application specific to run in a serverless environment in the cloud. By doing so, it causes something called vendor lock-in. Your customer is literally handicapped to that cloud provider, and it becomes really, really hard for them to leave the cloud provider. The theory and the benefits of cloud native is that you can basically just upload your code, and then somebody else manages all your infrastructure for you. Now, I don't know how many of you have gone to the internet recently. If any of you are a little older and you remember about 4 years ago, you'd go to a website where it had a database and you'd click and it was instant. And now all of a sudden you got these little spinning wheels, because a business can create much greater performance in their own data center than we can on the cloud. And when it goes to cloud native, we have no control over anything. So cloud native means spending a boatload of money to take the applications you have and redesign them to move them on the cloud. It means that you are handicapped to the cloud provider, and it makes multi-cloud architectures harder. Now, there are ways to do this cloud native across things by using standards-based things such as Kubernetes, and using standards-based things, meaning getting rid of things like Amazon Kinesis, which is serverless, and swap it out with something like Apache Kafka, which we can use again in AWS, Azure, and Google all at the same time. It means getting rid of silly business like WAF, these basic intro-level firewalls, and swapping them out with next-generation firewalls from Cisco or Palo Alto or Fortinet or Checkpoint, so we can give our customers real security and identical policies. So that's cloud native. If you want to be a cloud architect, you're not going to be an application architect. So know enough about this to be okay. But remember, cloud architects are not application architects. Cloud architects design the end-to-end solution. Application architects design the application. So cloud native application architecture is the role of a cloud native as an application architect. Knowing how to do cloud native architectures is the job of it, but not application architecture. Application architecture is somebody else's job. A network architect designs the network. A security architect designs the security. A cloud architect or an enterprise architect does end-to-end. An application architect focuses on the layout and the design of the application. So I hope I helped you with that question there as well. Jessica Russell. Hi, Mike. What tech career pathway would you recommend for someone who's an extreme infratrovert and not interested in coding? Jessica, in today's world, you're going to have 2 options. It used to be that You could be a network engineer and not know how to code. But the only tech jobs for the most part where there's no coding are architect jobs. And architect jobs require you to speak. Now, I know lots of people that are introverts. I'm an introvert. I was an extreme introvert in my youth. I couldn't talk to people. I was afraid to talk to people, but, I trained for it. So realistically speaking, Jessica, I can tell you this. The jobs where you don't have to talk to people a lot are the maintenance roles, such as sysops. But guess what? There's coding there. DevOps, but you need extreme coding. Any of this admin stuff, you're still going to need to code. So realistically speaking, there are no jobs that are good where you're not going to have to talk to people. It's just, I don't want to mislead you. There are none. And the only jobs that are out there where you don't need to talk to people are programming jobs, because it's assumed that programmers don't know how to talk to people or don't want to talk to people. But that doesn't mean it's true, Jessica. But that's the brand of the software engineer. That's the brand of a lot of these engineers, which again doesn't mean it's true. But that's the brand, and that's why people don't like to hire engineers as architects, which is sad because engineers have a great background. But that's when we have engineers that have been engineers, we need to do such a rebranding of the resume to get the world to see them as an architect. So you kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But reality is you're going to have two choices. Jobs where you talk to people where you don't need to code. And this could be project management. This could be engineering management. This could be sales. Any kind of, architecture work, all that. But in all those jobs, you're going to talk, babble, lead. And the only jobs that don't mandate you do that are the kinds where you're stuck behind the computer all day coding. And there's that. So, Jessica, I determined if you want to be in tech or have any job for that matter, because the reality is in today's world, all jobs that are good are going to force you to talk to people. And Jessica, you want to hear the even bigger, worst part of it? I'm going to be honest with you. The difference between a $100,000 architect and a $400,000 cloud architect is communication skills, emotional intelligence, leadership, sales, executive presence, CXO relevancy. That's the difference. So what I'd say is determine what you want to do. I don't care what it is. You could be an airplane pilot. You could be a doctor. You could be a nurse. Figure out exactly what thing you want to do. Something that's going to make you truly happy. And then we have to work backwards and figure out all the steps that you need. But for me, I was an introvert. I went to about $250,000 of presentation, sales, emotional intelligence, leadership training to be able to get out of it. I teach most of those things in our cloud architect career development program. And believe it or not, I teach it in my cloud engineer career development program. And here's the reason. I want my engineers talking too. I want my engineers leading too. I want my engineers selling too. Why? It dramatically raises their salary and it helps them get hired. Remember, Jessica, the interview, you got to sell yourself to somebody else. So I'd recommend getting comfortable in your own skin, going to a Toastmasters, giving presentations to a room full of stuffed animals, a room full of cats. I don't care. I did. I used to put stuffed animals around the room. I'd put like 30 of them. And that way I could practice communicating and looking to things in the eye in different quadrants in the room like you have to do when you're speaking to a large audience. Now, I got a practice thing. I put my cat in the cat tree. I look at her and I practiced it in front of the cat, and the cat's so cute it makes me smile, and the presentation comes out a little better. But my cat's outside today chasing lizards, so you got fresh raw meat. Hope I answered your question. Good morning, Marcus. It's so good to see you. Kyle, it's good to see you. Leo, good to see you. Yash, could you provide a full roadmap for a cloud architect for a fresher? Yash, that's what we have every single Thursday in our free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect job. But I'll tell you again, a cloud architect main job. And actually, Yash, Chris from my team, could you post a link to the magazine article that was published in Hacker Noon today? And also, Chris, it would be kind of nice if you post a link to yesterday's article that we wrote on how to become a cloud architect. And so there's that as well. So yes, you have to understand the job of the cloud architect is someone that designs, presents, and sells. So say it with me, everybody, because for some reason, People think architects code and configure. We don't do this. We architects do the following: design, present, and sell. Design, present, and sell. So what are the things that we need to do? We need to go interact with our customer, ask the customer about their business. What are their business goals? What are their business pain points? What are their business challenges? And from there, we take those business requirements, we translate these business requirements into an optimal end state. That's the transformation. What's the innovation we're trying to achieve? And then from there, we got to go back. And we go back and figure out what are those things that we need to do to get to build that thing. And it could be virtual servers, containers, firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, CRM app, ERP apps, etc., etc. So Yash, for the road for a cloud architect is as follows. You have to do the following. You must become a very good architect, which means a combination of skills. You must be a good systems designer. Now, we don't touch the tech, we design the tech. So we have to know all about how the tech works, and I'll talk about the tech next in order to get there. Now, tech is only 30 to 50% of our job. The other 50 to 70% of our job is all non-tech. You heard me. 50 to 70% of this job is not tech. It's presenting, it's selling, it's talking, it's leading, it's building business cases, it's schmoozing, it's entertaining clients. In 1 year, I spent $100,000 just entertaining clients. I had a corporate credit card, which paid for it, but it's entertaining clients. So what you need to know is first, you have to know how to sell, and you need sales training for it. We provide it in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. You need business acumen. You've got to be able to read a balance sheet and a financial statement and be able to understand what's relevant to say to the CEO versus the CXO versus the CIO, etc. So, we'll train you for it if you're with us, but if not, you're going to need CXO relevancy training. And let me tell you, it's about $10,000 to get good CXO relevancy training. That's why we put it in our course for less than $1,000, our own charter training program, because I know most people can't afford the kind of training that's necessary to learn these skills. Now, next, there's sales training. Now, when it comes to sales, we're not saying imagine how good you're going to feel in this car. We're dealing with billion-dollar deals here. So we've got to build a business case, create a ROI model. You have to prove to the customer the value of the solution is greater than its cost. So there's that, etc. You got to learn that. So we teach it in our program. You can get an MBA, etc. I don't care where you get it, but you need to know that for these jobs. Then we're going to be leading large teams of engineers, and we're going to be program managing some things. So you're going to have to learn how to manage people that don't work for you. So you're going to need some really good management and leadership skills. Again, we teach it in our program. You could take some management courses for $5,000 to $10,000, or you can do an MBA. Again, our course is so much cheaper, but I don't care how you do it. I just want you to get hired. Now, you're going to be dealing with executives, and they all are going to be one of three personality types. They're visionaries like me. And we focus on the vision. Give us details and we get a headache in about a second and a half. There's analytical people like my Chief Operating Officer, Chris. He needs numbers and metrics and data to make good decisions. I love that. That's why he's here with me. I need that. But that's the second kind of leader. The third kind of leader is somebody called the functional leader. And these people are process. If I interact with a functional leader, they're going to have a headache in about 3 seconds. They're going to be like, how'd you do this? Well, I did this as it was done. Mike, you need a process. You got to make a pattern. I'm like, no, that's not me. So you need to be able to deal with those three kinds. Now, Yash, nobody ever buys something because they want to. They buy it for competitive advantage. So you're going to have to build an ROI model, et cetera. And again, that's more business. Now, you're also going to have something called executive presence. And again, we train this, but if you're not with us, you're going to need that again, a couple $1,000s for it. But I don't care. I'm telling you, you can do it with us, or you can do it on your own. I just want you to get cloud hired. Executive presence is this. Hi, my name is Mike, and I'm a cloud architect. I've been working in technology for 25 years and helping others get their first tech job for 20 years. That's what most people do. Executive presence relates to your variations in your vocal tone, your time, your space. Hi, I'm Mike Gibbs. I've been working in tech now for 25 years. I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for 2 decades. They're not the same. You've got to get some executive presence training because you're going to be dealing with the CEO of a billion-dollar company. And if you can't have that executive presence, they won't even let you in the room. So there's that. Now, emotional intelligence. This is a really critical skill. Because we're going to be leading large teams, we have to manage our emotions and other people's emotions. Otherwise, we'll destroy relationships. So emotional intelligence training is there. Goldman Group does some. We teach it heavily in our program. We've got some very special emotional intelligence training tools that we use. That took 25 years to develop. I mean, really exceptional. But if you're not with us, you can take it from the Goldman Group, and they're a couple $1,000s for the week's training, but you need it. Now, yes, that covers the non-tech skills, which are 50 to 70% of the job. And this is not a job where getting certified is going to get you hired. This is a job where you need both sets of skills. Now, on the tech side, Josh, what we're going to be dealing with is we're going to be dealing with network and data center solutions. What's a cloud? A network and data center that's been virtualized. Now, I know the cloud providers have their funny terms. So for example, in the data center, we have VMware ESXi, which is a virtual machine, which is a hypervisor for virtual machines. We also have KVM and QEMU, all to make virtual machines. AWS has a virtual machine called Elastic Compute Cloud. Google has a virtual machine called Compute Engine Instance. Azure has a virtual machine called Azure Virtual Machine. Oracle has a virtual machine called Oracle Virtual Machine. If you don't know that network and data center stuff, you can't migrate your stuff to the cloud. So you need to know, you need to be an expert of the network and the data center. Now, yes, we architects don't touch the tech. We design it, present it, and sell it. And for the people that have been taught configuration commands, that's how to do something. But we need to design it. So remember, the architect that designs a building doesn't use the saws, the hammers, or build it. They design it. Now, that architect needs extreme knowledge of architectural principles like design. How is the building going to be swayed by wind that's coming at 20 to 30 miles an hour? What kind of rain is going to hit the building, and can it be strong enough? So these are the architectural considerations that an architect does. And then they hire a construction crew that hammers in the nails, not the architect. Now, it takes a lot more knowledge to learn the principles to design it than it does to hammer in the nails. So you must become an expert on the network and the data center technologies, which means you must learn BGP. You must know interior gateway protocols such as OSPF and intermediate systems to intermediate systems. You must know how to build an IP addressing plan for an organization. So IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation, etc. You must understand NAT, and NAT is not just to go to the internet. There's one-to-one NAT, there's one-to-many NAT, there's static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT, etc. So you need to know all those forms of NAT and why we would use them. Next, we're going to be dealing with switching technologies. So you must know VLANs and VLAN tagging and VLAN trunking. And you must understand spanning tree and rapid spanning tree because that kind of goes along with the switching kind of things. No, there's that. Next on the list is as follows. You're going to be dealing with, have to do with some worm and virus mitigation. So you should know some QoS, etc., quality of service and queuing, etc. Now we start leaving the network and we start getting into the data center. Now you need to have extremely good knowledge of virtual server virtualization and containers and container orchestration. And you need real knowledge, not silly knowledge like in the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, but deep knowledge of block storage and object storage and file storage. Again, we train all this stuff, but if you're not with us, you can go to the Dell EMC website, the IBM webpage, and read a couple thousand pages of storage, and then you'll know it. Then once you're done that with storage, then you need to understand databases. Relational databases, NoSQL databases, proprietary, non-proprietary, how to scale them, how to performance optimize them, how to synchronize them across clouds, et cetera, you need to understand that. Then, because we're using technology to transform business, you need to be familiar with supply chain applications like ERP applications and CRM applications, unified communications, and all the transformative applications that can make business better. Again, we don't code them, but we need to know which stuff goes into the design. Now we're going to be getting into authentication systems and IAMs. You're going to need to know something about Active Directory, etc., radio servers, because that's part of the security thing. While we're at security, you're going to need to know firewalls, not the kind of stuff that's covered in the AWS Advanced Security. You're going to need to know real security. So you're going to need to know next generation firewalls and IDS, IPS systems, and VPN concentrators for remote access. There's that. So those are the main things. Now, realistically speaking, we still like 2 certifications. We like 1 professional cloud certification, the Azure Solution Architect Expert, the Google Professional Cloud Architect, or the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, just one of the 3. And depending upon what you like to do, if you want to do networking or data center things, we either like a CCNP for you to do cloud networking, a CISSP for cloud security, those kind of things. And that's kind of what you need to do to get a job. Now, we've got a program that can do it for you very quickly and easily. You could do it on your own, but doing it with us will be about 30 times cheaper than doing it on your own. But I just want you to get hired, and now you know how to do it either way. Thank you for your questions, Yash. And if you got more of a question, I'd happily answer it. And everybody, please join us next week in the completely free Azure Solution Architect Bootcamp. This is a great. Hi, Malad. How are you? Malad's a great cloud architect. He attended our program and is now working as an architect. We're happy to see you. Should you focus on one area of tech besides cloud architect? I can see AI solution architect or IoT. So Malad, it's kind of interesting. I'm not that excited by AI right now, and I'm not that excited by IoT. I was excited by IoT 20 years ago when I started working with Internet of Things devices. What I would be focused on a lot is the transformation. So there's 2 ways you can play your career. You could play your career, here I'm an expert on a tech. And if I was going to be an expert on a tech, I'd be an expert on security or networking. And here's the reason why. Everybody's headed to AI, and nobody knows networking. And because of that, the more the stuff goes on the network, guess what? The more stuff's on the network, the bigger the security risks are. So that's going there too. So if I was going to focus on something, I would focus on the following. I focus on security or networking. I think they're the 2 best. Now, having said that, that's probably not how I would build my career in today's world. I would probably, if possible, focus on some specialty. And I love cloud networking, and I built a career of cloud networking, and trust me, it's a great career. Same thing for cloud security. Is there anything wrong with AI? Not really, but AI is probably going to be much more of the engineering world than the architecture world. So it's not my favorite place to play right now. I can see a lot of potential there, but it's still not my favorite place to play right now. I'd rather play on an industry Malad. So got an MBA, spent some time in the finance industry. Did real well there. Then had an opportunity to work in healthcare technology. And I'm allowed to think about it. Enterprise architect like me, working in healthcare. Hey, wait, Mike's been a nurse practitioner, which does the same job as a doctor, a firefighter, paramedic. I've seen every aspect of the entire healthcare delivery system. So when I work in healthcare, making architecture, I know what the customer needs. I know their business workflows. I know their pain points. I know their challenges. And when I walk into a healthcare delivery system, whether it's the NHS of a certain country or whether it's one of the world's largest hospital systems, and I say, I'm Mike Gibbs, a healthcare architect, and they say, tell me about yourself. And I say, I'm Mike. I've been working in tech now for 25 years, helping businesses become more efficient with technology. I used to practice internal medicine as a nurse practitioner. Before that, I was a registered nurse. And before that, I was an EMT and a paramedic. And I've seen every aspect of the healthcare delivery system. And I've spent the last 20 years helping healthcare organizations become more efficient. Feel the power in that, Malad. Now, by comparison, hi, I'm Mike Gibbs. I've been working in technology for 25 years, helping businesses become more efficient through the use of technology. Mr. Airline CEO, it's so nice to meet you. And if he says, what's your background? And I say, healthcare and banking. See, Malad, I'm no longer up here. I'm sort of down here. So I would say my preference for career building is to focus on an industry and really learn that industry. Best industry for long-term pay, banking. because a nanosecond to a bank is a massive, massive, massive competitive advantage, and that nanosecond can be $1 billion a year or more of profitability. So they will pay anything for somebody that's got good digital transformation skills in bank. So my preference is typically to focus on an industry. My two favorite specialties to learn are security and networking because of the obscurity of it. So Milad, here's what I would try and do. We've got the supply and demand curve, and basically the greater the supply, the lower the price at a given demand. The shorter the supply, the higher the price at a given demand. Nobody knows networking. I mean, serious, it's pathetic. Nobody knows networking out there. You interview 1,000 network certified people. You may find one, if you're lucky, that actually understands the network. So it's an obscure skill because it's so complicated. 75,000 pages of reading from my CCIE, which I consider my intro level before I got to start learning networking. 500 pages in an AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. So 150 times more just to the CCIE, and I view that as my intro. And that's what we're talking about when I'm talking about them. So yes, you could do AI. Internet of Things, I think, is too old. I think it's past technology, but I still think they're still going to be there. But for me, I'd be focusing on that. I also see some potential in blockchain as well. Even though blockchain and cloud are kind of, opposites and synergistic in certain ways. So if you're going to focus on tech, you could do it. I happen to like networking and security, specifically security. I think security is a great place for the future, but you got to do what you love. And if you love AI, it's great. But you got to really love it, because you got to also figure a lot of that machine learning AI stuff is the domain of the data scientist as well. And those folks are really trained in this kind of stuff. Whereas for us as architects, it's not really our world, but we can still design these systems, and I still think it's great. So you got to do what you love. If you love AI, yeah, sure. But I'd say there's much more potential becoming an expert on an industry vertical topic. And all these companies have, like Business Solutions Group, and I worked in one, and they basically have a special pay, which is above everybody else, special titles. And the people that work in these groups are typically director or VP level. And sometimes they don't even have any direct reports to manage. They need that. That's how valuable they are to the organizations. Kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Any specialty is good. AI could be fine. IoT could also be fine, even though it's not my two favorite preferences, but that doesn't mean they're not good. They're still good. Security, great. Networking, great. Especially as we start going multi-cloud, that networking and security piece becomes even more important. Great questions, Milan. Okay, since the banner is up, here to remind everybody that for the next week, we've got 30% off of every single product that we have to help you reach your potential. Hence the reason we use the coupon code potential. I know it's getting rough out there. I know the 12% inflation we've had over the last 2 years is really hurting people. That's why we dropped the price for as long as we can do it, which is about 2 weeks, ending next week, to help you get hired at the lowest cost possible. So please take advantage of this if you're trying to get cloud hired. And Chris, you can bring in the next one.
Sorry, you just reminded me that the CPI number came out today.
Okay.
Inflation. And when you mentioned that, I Googled, and the first headline that pops up is CPI inflation rate shocks with new 40-year high.
Okay, there you go. So even today, the consumer price index is up at a 40-year high. And that's why we've been making all these videos teaching you how to get hired in a not so great economy. That's why we're making all these videos about how to stay hired in a challenging economy, because you know what? I've been through 20 layoffs. I've never been laid off before. In fact, of the people I coached, only one ever got laid off of the many people I coached. And guess what? He had a $100,000 plus severance and had a $300,000 job within 7 days. So he wasn't too upset about getting laid off, but he's the only person that I've ever coached that got laid off. And look how fast he landed on his feet. So if you notice us talking about some things, there's a video we made yesterday. There's that. Now, I want to think about this. Look about your cost versus earnings. Every business does an opportunity cost modeling. If our cost for a course is $700, and it can add $100,000 to your career, which in many cases it can. It doesn't always, but it could. I mean, look at that return on investment capital. It's like 130 or 140 times what you're paying for it just instantly. But it could be 100,000 more to your career for the next 30 years. That's why we pretty much have a training program that deliver not much more than our cost, because we just want to help you. If we were trying to make this a business, we charge what the course is worth, about $50,000. But our results are getting there. We've got students, 90+% of our real graduates that do all the work get jobs between $100,000 and $300,000. I want you all hired. And that's why I'm teaching you about the high value skills. That's why I keep teaching about emotional intelligence, soft skills, everybody. Here's the thing. Soft skills raise someone's salary typically by 30%. Emotional intelligence raises the average person salary by $29.6 thousand more per year. 30% of the average cloud architect salary, which is $150,000, is $55,000. Plus another 29.6 is $85,000 over the course of a 30-year career. That's an extra $2.5 million by training these skills as opposed to a bunch of certifications. That's why we're here trying to help you. So go out there and build your best career. Chris, if you want to go bring the next one in. Class, are there any other ways to learn business acumen? Class, every Friday I have a business acumen class with my cloud architect student. And we've got tremendous cloud business acumen in the course. So no, there's two ways you can do it. You could take our course, you'd be fine. Or you could do an MBA, or you could learn accounting and then learn finance and then learn leadership and then learn sales and then learn program management and then learn executive presence. And you could do these classes. There's courses that you can do without an MBA. They typically around 2 to 5 days each, and they're typically between $3,000 to $5,000. I've taken 30 or 40 of these classes, class. I took them in addition to the MBA, because in the MBA they teach only a third of this, and in these special classes there are. Between the company and me, there was $250,000 spent on the education that I received, and I put all of that into our program, because I know most people cannot afford money like that for a course like this. But yes, there's lots of ways to do it. Jerry Reisman used to run really great presentation skills classes. Speak Easy does some that are good in California. I've taken some, multiple from them. From the basic to the advanced. Each one's a couple $1,000s for a few days. And that's why I made this program, to keep people from spending that much. But yes, you can do it. You can go to the internet and learn how to read a balance sheet. You can go to the internet and learn how to read a financial statement. You can go to Toastmasters and present. They're not going to give you the kind of executive training that we could when we do it, because they're not executives, but they're still helpful. You could go to a course on emotional intelligence. There's lots of courses that you could take on sales. There's lots of them in New Jersey from the Carnegie Group, which is quite good. But there's lots of courses you could take on sales. There's lots of courses out there on ROI modeling and business case development. There's lots of courses out there on leadership. Lots of courses on situational leadership. So you can do these things without an MBA. And truth be told, I did my MBA, but I learned a lot more of it outside my MBA. But I still like the MBA. And the reason I like the MBA is it's a nice little stamp on a resume. Kind of says, I've done this. That's the whole point. I learned half of my MBA skills in my MBA. The class, when I did my MBA, I did something different. So, of course, I took the class. Now, when I did my MBA, it was kind of a ridiculous lifestyle that I had. I was living in a place called Princeton, New Jersey, and I was working in New York City. So it used to take me about 90 minutes to go to work in the morning and 90 minutes to come back. So I had 3 hours each day of commute to New York City. Now, what I did a lot of the times is drive from my house to New York, park in New York, and then drive to just Delaware, Widener University to do my MBA, and then I drove back to my home. So in these days, I had 5 to 6 hours of commute, 3 days per week, and the rest of the time, I only had 3 hours a day of commuting. So think of it this way. I had 15 to 20 hours of dead time. So during my commute, when I took a marketing class, I bought like 10 marketing books on tape. And I would listen to accounting books, marketing books, leadership books, sales books, all bestsellers. And I would do that while I was driving back to the class. So class, in addition to the MBA, I must have gone through 200 or 300 ebooks. It's a little bit expensive, but oh well, while I was doing it. And that's how I actually developed more of my business acumen skills than actually the MBA. But I also took a lot of leadership things. So no, there's lots of ways to do it, class. Lots of ways. But you got to do it. However you do it, don't care. It can be with us, you'll learn it. It can be with other expensive courses, you'll learn it. You can get an MBA, you'll learn it. But in any case, just learn it. That's all. Just learn it. Byron Ross, you really like the network and data center portion of the cloud. What are 2 professional certs that follows the pass for a cloud architect? AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, Azure Solution Architect Expert, Google Professional Cloud Architect, Cloud Cert. Data Center Cert, our favorite is the CCNP because it covers networking, and you can do one that actually covers the networking and the data center at the same time. That's our favorite. There is a Red Hat Certified Engineer, but that's more hands-on techie, so it's not our favorite, but it's still okay. There's a VMware Certified Professional, which is pretty good as well. But here's the thing. I'd rather see one AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional and a CCNP than anything else. Those would be the ones that I would do. But Byron, remember, this is not a certification career. All the certification does is create fake competency or an illusion of competency, meaning it's not real. Because the following certifications are based upon the name of a service and how to configure that service. And architects don't use those names of the services because we've got to be vendor neutral, and we don't configure those services. So they're all irrelevant for us. But, kind of keep that over the back of your mind. That's why we're dealing with, one cloud, one network, or one cloud and one data center. We only want enough certification to get that interview. But if we have too many certifications, we're no longer looking like a business executive or a digital transformation specialist. We're looking like an engineer. Architects make more money than engineers for a reason. They bring in money that are tied to sales, and they're seen as business people, not techies. You don't want to look like a techie, Byron. One of my students who's 21, who just got hired as a cloud architect, doesn't have a 4-year degree, and he's phenomenal. He's smart. He's incredible. When he went on his interview, they said, look, I need a sales rep and a lab coat, meaning I need you to design, present, and sell like a sales rep, but still have that knowledge to make it work. And that's the things. My students are all getting hired every day. They're saying, my God, Mike, you've given us so much tech. The tech interviews are so basic. And I say, yes. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. That's why those are our favorite. Hope I answered your question. If not, ask more. E-Money gets in. It's great to see you and hear you, Michael. E-Money gets in. I'm so happy to see you. Mickey, what's the best advice for a non-techie can get a cloud architect? Best advice for a non-techie can be a cloud architect in 1 to 2 months. What tricks will they apply when consuming your course with that goal in mind? Mickey, I don't think it's reasonable at all. A cloud architect earns more money than a doctor, more money than a physician, more money than a lawyer, more money than an accountant, and I don't think anybody is going to do this in 1 to 2 months. Now, I can get a non-techie to be a cloud architect in about 8 months if they work hard. But Mickey, unless you're already a management consultant, and the reason I say management consultant is what we do is what management consultants do. Meaning, we interact with the customer, we ask some questions, we examine the available evidence, we make an assessment, and we make a plan called an architecture. Now, a management consultant and a cloud architect are nearly the same job. So if you've done that, then all you got to do is go through the equivalent of about 50,000 pages of technical materials, and you're good to go. But the reality of that is, in our program, which is a few hundred hours, yes, we can do it. And yes, Mickey, I have had graduates get hired inside of my programs very quickly. For example, I had a Richard Ofukar got through my program in, literally speaking, 3 weeks. Got hired by AWS as a technical account manager. But that's an entry-level job. Well, it's a good job, but it's an entry-level job. The cloud architect or solution architect is a serious job. And because of that, you're going to have to need some knowledge and deeper knowledge. Assuming that somebody can get that knowledge in 1 to 2 months with an IQ of 180 or above, which would be one of the highest IQs on record, that could maybe be done in 3 to 6 months. Because you got to remember. So, Mickey, I am kind of an abnormal guy. I can read 1,000 pages a day and remember it, and I did. For me to read 1,000 pages a day and remember it, I could do it. That would take me 2 months to get the tech piece. And it would take another 2 to 4 months to get the leadership skills, business acumen, emotional intelligence, executive presence. Now, Mickey, and if you've been selling billion-dollar things in sales, fine, you're good. If you've been selling $40 million things, fine, you're good. If you're used to presenting in front of a 5,000 person audience, good. If you've trained your executive presence, etc., good. But this is not a 1 to 2 month career. This is something that I can do in about 8 months. And when I can do it in about 8 months, the average people that are teaching it are taking years and years and years. So, Mickey, to put it into context, all these people that are doing these master's degrees in cloud computing, they're not hireable when they're done that. They come to me, and within 4 to 8 months, we're actually teaching the job, then they're hireable. So I don't want to mislead you. I could get you hired in 6 to 8 months. But less than that, I don't see it. I don't see it. And I don't think anybody can do it because it's not a realistic thing. How would somebody go through something that we have that's 500 hours in 1 to 2 months? If you did 20 hours a day, times, which means 4 hours of sleep, 7 days a week, that'd be so 20 times 7 would be 140. Yes, I guess if you did 20 hours a day for 2 months, it's possible. But still, I don't think you're going to have a chance, even if you did 20 hours a day for 2 months, to necessarily practice the presentation skills. Make those presentation skills good enough for the interview. Have the executive presence that's there. Develop the leadership skills and be able to sell. But if you've already been working at a management consultant, say as a McKinsey, at senior manager or director level, you'll be good to go in 1 to 2 months. But that would be the only case. Or you've been in tech sales for the last few years, but I don't think anybody can become a cloud architect or a solution architect in 1 to 2 months, regardless of their background, unless they were a network architect or an enterprise architect before. And I get those guys through all the time with the networking perspective. So I think it's about setting reasonable expectations. Videos to videos. Hi, Mike. Great Q and Q. I'm not sure what you mean. I'm thinking Q and Q tagging, which is something, but whatever the case is, thank you so much. Is cloud security different than cybersecurity? No. It's all the same. Cloud security and cybersecurity is the same. You do cybersecurity on the cloud, they call it cloud security. What it goes into security? First, we have to determine whether it's defensive or offensive. Offensive security is things like penetration testing, being hired by a company to break in. Now, those people have hacking skills, maybe some Kali Linux and Parrot Linux, and are really familiar with operating systems and their old vulnerabilities. They're hackers, experts at social engineering, experts at hacking tools, etc. So that's an offensive security person. Now, on the defensive side, it's our firewalls, our IDS, IPS systems, our VPN concentrators. It's our security policy. It's the training that we do to users, our anti-malware protection, how our systems are going to be locked down. Incident response procedures, access control list, identity and access management, federated identity access management, etc., etc. Guess what? What do we do in the cloud? Same thing. So videos to views. Here's the thing. What is a cloud? It's a network and a data center that's been virtualized. There is nothing different about the cloud than every other data center that's been here for 40 years, other than you get it. You're renting somebody else's. Now, auto scaling is kind of the big differentiator, but we can do that in our own data center. But no, it's the same thing. The same thing. And videos to videos, let's go back to this. The cloud providers say, we have our own security stuff. We made it ourselves. And reality is, if you were a new data center, you wanted to say, here's this freeware Linux IP table. That's going to be my enterprise-grade firewall. You can have it. And that's the way I view these little silly things that WAFs, that all the cloud providers are doing. No videos to views. If you're going to lock down an enterprise, personally, I'm going to call Cisco, Palo Alto, Fortinet, and Checkpoint and say, show me your systems. And you know what I'm going to do in the cloud? I'm going to call those same companies and say, show me your systems that we can use as virtual appliances in the cloud. Same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Keep it in that manner. You should be good to go. There used to be a song, Meet the New Boss, same as the old boss. The first cloud I worked on was in 1996. It was called Frame Relay. Next cloud was called the ATM cloud. The next cloud was the BGP cloud, RFC 2547. The next cloud after that was VPLS. Clouds aren't new, not at all. And Chris, we addressed this question before. So let's go to the next one. If I were starting at Xen, what would I learn first? Well, I probably wouldn't have learned healthcare first. But I'm going to tell you, healthcare is what got to me. If I was starting out again, here's what I would learn. I wouldn't think of it. I wouldn't learn any engineering at all because I had learned a lot of engineering. If I was starting out and I was young, I'd go straight to business school in college. I'd go straight to my MBA and learn that immediately. While I was doing my MBA, I would learn the network and the data center, and I would go learn cloud or enterprise architecture, which is exactly what I did. I wouldn't do anything different. I think the architect job is the best job in the world. And I've been an architect for 25 years. So I would do the same thing identically, other than I wouldn't study healthcare. I'd go straight into business. I didn't study any engineering with degrees in school. I had healthcare degrees, and they were so helpful to me not to be bogged down by engineering degrees. And here's why. In my career, I learned the skills that were needed for my job. All my people that studied networking that went and had engineering degrees learned programming. And in those days, there was no programming and networking. So I had to teach all the people with their master's degrees how to do the job because what they learned in school was totally relevant. But you know what's not it's always relevant? How to give a presentation, how to do an ROI model. How does macroeconomics affect the business? What microeconomic factors are affecting the business? How do you lead? How do you manage a group of people? How do you make an organization more profitable? How can you help an organization invest? How can you cut costs out of an organization? This is the stuff that matters. What's the main thing an architect does? Make a business perform better. That's why they hire us. They don't hire us for tech. If they wanted to hire us for tech, they'd hire engineers. They're a lot smarter on tech than we are. They hire we architects for the following reasons. They want us to improve their business. So the more business acumen you have, the better. And that's what I would have focused on if I was younger. Business, 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 and more business. In my early days, I was a technical architect. I focused more on the technology. Accordingly, my salary was halved. When I got out of that and focused on the leadership, my salary doubled. So it's up to you. But I would have started out with business, 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 and more business. That's all I would have done. That would have been the first thing that I learned. Why? The greater your foundation and fundamentals are the most critical things, the more stable the house is or whatever career you build on top of it. That's why I focus on these things completely. Mirabeau, Mike, you talk about all those knowledge to become a cloud architect. Is it possible to become an expert in cloud like you without starting or working somewhere by gaining experience? Mirabeau, everybody gets their first job. When I went from medicine to networking, I got my first job. I've got students every single day. So when Romanek Ivan Tamba, this wonderful 24-year-old Cameroonian, came to me, he was in school. He was working as a food server while going to school full time. Now he's working as AWS as a solution architect. We taught him the skills. Now let's talk about what an expert is. An expert has 10,000 hours of knowledge in a small subject. 10,000 hours. So what does that really mean? If I said that I had 10,000 hours in networking, I would not be an expert at all. Now, if I told you that I had 10,000 hours working with BGP, which I do, that's an expert. So you have to understand what an expert is. An expert is someone that has so much knowledge that they're the go-to resource. So is it possible to become an expert in a short period of time? No. Can you be competent, hireable, and have a great job? The answer is yes, 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 yes. In fact, just yesterday in class, one of my students, I was so proud of him. In my class, I have everybody design an architecture constantly. He designed an architecture. It was ready to bring me to tears. I was so proud and happy. He got so deep. And truth be told, on the application architecture side, he got deeper than I ever would have. But he did it with grace, executive presence, and awesome communication skills, and I was happy. So all those things, you can do it. I've got students that are learning majority of these skills inside of 8 months if they've never worked in tech before and they're getting hired, or about 4 months if they've worked in tech before. But I give my students the experience. And I do things differently, Mirabeau. So the certification people will tell you, here's how to configure an S3 bucket. No, here's the reality. I taught a beautiful little 8-year-old girl how to configure an S3 bucket in less than 5 minutes. Nobody's going to pay $300,000 to an architect to do it. But there are things that you can do. Now, if you're looking at hands-on things that you can do to show that you know what you're doing, we do them with our students all the time. So in our training, sure, we make people do about 30 AWS labs. Why? So that nobody asks you, have you reconfigured it? You could say yes, even though we don't configure things. Now, next, we have people do about 30 Azure labs, and you can say yes. I know Azure too. But what we really do with our students is we create a job for our students with the title for creating an employment record. And then we give our students work to do. They co-author books with us to get their names published. They set up server virtualization, the real way for enterprise-wide computing. They design containers the hard way in a data center. They build file servers. So then when you deal with the pre-made service, you know what it is. My students build firewalls. Yes, you heard me. They build firewalls so they can learn security. They build VPN concentrators for remote access. My students build Active Directory servers to do it. And my students, Mirabeau, all build their own clouds. All of them. I don't have a student that can't design a cloud from scratch. And I don't mean a VPC. Every cloud architect should, if they were asked by a company, like if a phone company called me and said, Mike, I want to start offering cloud computing services, I could tell them how to do it. If you're a real cloud architect, you know how to design and build your own cloud. In fact, Mirabeau, every one of my students designs and builds their own cloud. Cloud architects and cloud engineers. Why? Because that's competency. And that's knowledge. And you got, and you're there. And can you get the knowledge by working? I don't think so. And here's why. I think you get it from training. And people think you can get it from experience, but I don't believe it. Do you think I could train a doctor by just saying, here, go work at the hospital for a long time? Here, work as a nursing assistant for a little while, then work as a nurse for a little while, then be a physical therapist for a little while, and then be a pharmacist? That still person would still not have doctor knowledge. But the doctors get their knowledge in medical school. So you need to be trained for these things. They're not natural to us. So how did I learn it? Training. Yes, I worked for the world's greatest technology company, Cisco, for nearly a decade. I worked for Riverstone, which was the old Cabletron. It's just now Nokia, a great technology company. I worked as a principal architect for Comcast. I worked as a principal architect on Wall Street. And yes, I was the lead architect at MCI WorldCom, now Verizon, the world's largest ISP. You know where I learned most of the skills that weren't part of my job? I went and got educated. I went and did basically 2 MBAs while I was working these things just to do it. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We're coming at it. It sounds like we're having some video challenges. My apologies, but hopefully that gets better in a minute or so. If not, I'll change my bit rate. So those are the things that you can do. Does it come from experience? Yes. Experience in your job makes you better. Experience in your job and not somebody else's job. So get the right training and you'll be great. Why am I an expert? Well, about $250,000 of education, plus 20 years experience. Plus, Mirabeau, here's something different. The people that I worked with, and then I'm going to change my bit rate in a few seconds, the people that I worked with used to be like this. Hey, Mike, let me learn a little Python skill. It'll be a nice, well-rounded skill. Hey, Mike, let me learn a little voice over IP. Hey, Mike, let me learn a little bit this. Hey, Mike, let me learn Linux. That's what they did. And what did they ultimately know? A little about a lot of things. Now, Mirabeau, what did I do? I spent 5 years and did nothing other than BGP, and another 5 years doing nothing other than multicast. And that's how you become an expert. You optimize, optimize, optimize. Let me go play with my bitrate to see if I can try and maybe I'm having an internet bandwidth thing. So let me go change the bitrate I'm using, and hopefully we can clear up the video. Give me about 5 seconds. I think we'll come to you at a lower bandwidth. Maybe there's some internet congestion today, and then hopefully everything is all better. Video getting better, everybody? Hopefully? Okay, excellent. Adam, can you do networking and cloud computing at the same time, sir? Adam, cloud computing is networking. You must do them at the same time. If you don't do networking and cloud computing, you won't know cloud computing anything. So, yes, you should. Now, Adam, before I answer that, let me actually ask what your desired career is. For example, if you got a DevOps career desire, then networking is probably not the most critical thing. But if you desire any kind of cloud engineering or cloud architect work, you should be learning both at the same time. The cloud is a virtual network and a data center. And if you don't know the network and you don't know the data center, then you don't know the cloud at all. So you must do them together. Great question. Must do them together. Kind of like when you go to school and you may study English, history, and something else at the same time. When you train doctors, they may have a health assessment class which teaches them how to diagnose, examine people. They may be taking a pharmacology class, which is the study of medicine. They may be also taking a pathology class, which is the study of disease. So there's no real way to separate the cloud from networking, so you must do them at the same time. Chindu, I recently completed a cybersecurity bootcamp in March, and I want to build your career in security. However, you're interested in cloud architect. Is architect so different than security? Okay, so Chindu, you're going to hear on Monday from someone that unfortunately spent $35,000 on a ridiculous cybersecurity bootcamp on Tuesday next week. And when I heard about this, I was so horrified that we found a way to help this person out. We realized that at the end of the cybersecurity bootcamp, I asked him to design a cybersecurity architecture, and he couldn't. So, and he spent $35,000, and he got what I consider to be the worst security certification in the world, the Security Plus. This company was supposed to help people, but in the end, it's been taking people's money away and not getting them hired. But that's neither here nor there. He then came to us. So, cybersecurity is excellent. And of course, you can become a cloud architect, and the architect is different than what you're going to learn in a boot camp, and here's the difference why. But you can still leverage all that security knowledge, and you can make it better. So the cloud architect designs the end-to-end solution. End-to-end, which is inclusive of the network and the data center and the applications and the security. So security is maybe 10% of what we do. And having better knowledge in security will make you a better architect because it'll help you know when to use next generation firewalls versus IDS, IPS systems, etc. So all these things are beneficial. We just have to teach you how to reuse it. But they're very different. So the architect is a design, present, and sell career. And what's being taught in these boot camps is engineering, and how to configure stuff. Again, not what we do. But we could easily get you there, just like we got this person that you're going to hear from, this person that spent $35,000 on this boot camp. It broke my heart. Something that was supposed to give him a level up and help him, but it broke my heart. I heard so much he's going to spend. We got him, but he's now hired. It took us 8 months to teach him to unlearn those kind of things and teach him what he actually needed to learn, but we got him hired, and he's so excited. And yes, you can do the same thing. So here's what you need to learn. The network, the data center, how to design, present, and sell. And you can do it. And life is cumulative, completely cumulative. Everything you have comes with you. If you worked in customer service in your last life, that is a huge help as the architect because we're always going to be diffusing things. If you've ever been a manager, that's hugely beneficial. If you've ever been in sales, it's hugely beneficial. So what you could do is as follows. You could become a cloud architect, and we could train you to do so. Now, you could also focus more on security. And what I mean by security is as follows. Not the kind of stuff you would do in a security plus. There's no point in doing it. I would advise you to skip that certification. The only certifications that we would ever tell you to do are the CISSP or the CCSP, because they are much more related to the actual job. Now, the CISSP is more of a design solution thing, and here's why. So kind of keep that, because we don't do incident response. I mean, we don't touch the tech at all. We'll design the system. What does the end-to-end system? Where are virtual machines? Where is our storage? What kind of databases do we use? What kind of next generation firewalls do we use? And we're on the cloud. So can we put a physical firewall on the cloud? No. So now we're going to use virtual firewalls, which means, a bunch of like a security architecture might include a network load balancer front-ended by 2 next generation firewalls. We might have another network load balancer front-ended by 2 IDS IPS systems. And you might say, why are we using a second IDS IPS system if we've got a firewall that's already next generation? Maybe we're looking for a second set of non-signature based versus signature based. Maybe we're looking for more detailed information. Then, after that, are we putting access control lists to protect a subnet? We're using a security group. What are we doing on the host? Are we disabling unnecessary services? Are we patching? Are we using anti-malware? What kind of encryption schemes are we trying to use? Etc. This is what we architects do. What is the identity and access management strategy that we're going to use? How are we going to federate into Active Directory? How are we going to store the permissions after we authenticate them for what people can do? Do we need any custom databases? Are we going to do any machine learning based log analysis and data visualization? Who do we need to train in terms of anti-malware, in terms of anti-phishing, anti-social engineering? What does the security policy that we write up kind of do? So that's the kind of stuff that we do. Exactly. As architects. So whatever you did is great. If you learn some incident response, great. You'll be able to come up with better incident response procedures, which is something very important for the cloud architect. It's helpful. But here's the thing. When it comes to certifications, if you want to be an architect, the right ones build your portfolio, but the wrong ones make you look like a techie. So I'd advise you to skip the Security Plus. Unless you want to work for the US government, they like it, but it's not something that employers are looking for big jobs. Swap the Security Plus for a CISSP, and that's going to look something good. And you know what? It's not going to be a hard exam for you to do. It's an easy exam. I did the CISSP in 5 days. Now, having said that, I'm not normal, but when I worked at a company, they had a bunch of CISSP instructors come in. 5,000 of us took the course from Monday to Friday, and all 5,000 of us passed, and we took the exam. So it wasn't a complicated thing, but you can do it. Take the training you've got and build this. Now, if you want to do the Security Plus, great. But when it comes to cloud architect application time, make sure you've got a CISSP or a CCSP and remove the Security Plus from your resume. And here's why. It doesn't build the confidence that the employers want. They need to see an executive. That MBA that it looks like you've got, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Business management, great. Customer service, taking somebody that's growl, 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 and making them happy, happy, happy. So they're both smiling is what you want to do. So those are valuable, valuable things. So take that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful background that you have, the MBA, the customer service, the business management. Focus on building your portfolio. The CISSP is kind of like a management cert, a leadership cert. That's the reason why we're going for this, because the architect's a system designer. So that's how you would do it. Think of the architect as more of a management consultant. Go to the customer, ask about their business, their pain points, their challenges. Look at their balance sheet, look at their financial statement, look what the industry analysts are saying, and listen to what the customer tells you. From there, lead a team of cloud engineers to go learn a lot of stuff, baseline it. From there, make a diagnosis and make a plan. And then go present a plan and sell the plan back to the customer. That's the job. Great question. So happy you asked it. E-money gets in. Mike, you have spent a lot of time and money on personal development. How have you profited from this training? Your presentation and communication skills are great. Well, e-money gets in. I was retired by age 34 from the amount of money that I spent on this training. My training enabled me to be paid typically at least double what everybody else was paid. And it paid for itself in about a year to a year and a half. So there's that. But e-money gets in. Education is never a waste if you use it right and you're properly educated. Here's what's a waste. Doing an exam dump and passing a certification. That's a waste because it does nothing for you. But in school, if I studied finance, which I did, and I studied economics heavily, which I did, and I studied leadership skills heavily, which I did, and I studied sales skills heavily, which I did, think of what you can do with this. Every time somebody presents an investment opportunity to it, I can look at it and say, money losing, not money losing. I can look at what's going on in the economy right now and predict the future. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. That's a percent, like a 60 to 70% certainty. Now, with that information, can I make better investment decisions? I sure can. Now, e-money gets in, would I ever be able to work on $1 billion architecture without those skills? No, not at all. Who do you think has better job opportunities? The person working on the $1 billion architectures or the person working on the $30,000 architectures? Who do you think salary is double or triple? Now, e-money gets in the kind of skills that I have. For example, I found myself in hostile situations. Somebody tried to kidnap me and ransom me back in a country while I was traveling. I had such good reading people skills from the training that I had that I was able to diffuse it before I had to defend myself because they're skills. But most importantly, e-money gets in the skills that I've changed that if I wanted a job, I could get 10 to 15 very high paying job offers within 24 hours. That's where it pays off. So I spent the time, I spent the effort, and I spent the money, and it made me who I am. Without this $250,000 of training, I couldn't have gotten at least 100 people hired this year as cloud architects, most of which had no tech background whatsoever. Couldn't have been able to do it. Without this background, I wouldn't be able to know to reach out to the hiring managers and recruiters and say, what do you want in the perfect person? Because I wouldn't have the elicitation skills. Without these skills, I couldn't have done my job. Reality is this. I'm teaching people these high value skills because I know most people can't afford them and I want them to have them. But a lot of people do this already. I don't know anybody else that's training this at all. Not even a single one. Look, I have a strong tech background, huge. But like my manager told me back in 2002 or 2001, I had a manager that pulled me in office and I was a CCIE, a CCNP, a CCDP, a CISSP, and I was the go-to hardcore techie. Well, I was a technical architect, which is like an engineer with an architect title. And I got a manager that pulled me in a room and he says, Mike, he says, do you know the difference between someone like you, $150,000 sales engineer / architect, versus a $300,000 enterprise architect? And I said, no. And he said, business acumen, leadership skills, sales skills, emotional intelligence, executive presence, ROI modeling, the impact you make on your customers. He told me that was what was going to make the big difference. So A&E, I've trained lots of people that have gotten lots of jobs. What makes them successful is their leadership skills, their sales skills, their emotional intelligence, executive presence, etc. And here's the reason why. And no, most people aren't doing this already. They're focusing on the tech. Who would you rather have an architect? Let's say I took my wife who practices cardiology. She's amazingly smart. Tech is not her world at all, but she's got really good management skills and leadership skills. Let's say I took her, world's greatest doctor person that I know, but not a techie, but she can lead a team. And now I got on the right an expert techie with 20 years experience. So my wife, who practices cardiology, decides to bring in a team of 10 cloud architects, 10 cloud security architects, 10 cloud network architects, 10 big data architects, 10 DevOps engineers and 10 SysOps engineers. Together, the team has an experience of 800 years. But she's not a techie, but she leads them to produce a design. On the right side, we got a techie who thinks he can do it himself because he can't lead anybody else. Whose design's better? The person that practices cardiology or internal medicine with a team of 80 people with 800 years experience, or the deep techie? The deep techie doesn't even know what they don't know for this whole thing. The medical person with zero tech background actually did a better job. So I had a friend. He was the architect before the architects. He didn't know any technology, but here's what he did. He knew how to communicate, lead. He was amazing. He'd go to the customer, ask the requirements, come back and bring a team of experts, design something, he'd present it back and sell it, and the customers always bought it. He was one of the most successful architects I've ever seen. Not least technical these days, but because he worked as an architect for so long, he picked up on the job. But he was the most effective because his skills were so good. So everybody's focused on the tech. No, it's this other stuff that blends with the tech that's the key. And everybody's focused on the tech. It's not the tech, it's the transformation. It's your business knowledge, it's your executive presence, it's what you can do for the business, not the tech. So no, it's not the tech. Look, I've got a great tech background, but it's not the tech. I don't use any of the tech in my job. A&A, I go to the customer side, I buy lunches, I talk, I tell jokes, I lighten up the thing. I ask the executives about their business. I bring in my team of geniuses, and I make sure they're doing their job. I'm a manager, a leader, a facilitator. The architects that I know, AAE, and I've got a lot of them, I know thousands of them, they're like, and many of them, my students, they're like, Mike, you taught me all this tech. Am I ever going to get to use it? And I say, no. And they said, why'd you teach it to me? And I said, you need it for the job. And they said, why? I'm not going to use it. I said, did you have a tech interview? And they said, yeah. I said, so you need to keep your technical skills good so you can pass the interview. And on your job, design, present, and sell. And design means building a team of greatness. Because what's better? One person that can do it really smartly, or a team of people that can do it great. There's an African proverb, and it means so much to me, and it's pure for architecture. The proverb is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. This is a team of go together because you want to go far. And that's why this is more of a leadership skills. Leadership sales. So yes, you need the tech, but the techies don't get hired. They're stuck on the sideline looking for jobs. And when they finally get them, they get paid a third of those that have these capabilities. So you decide your own future. You currently hold the AWS security specialty. I wouldn't even put that on my resume. You have a CISSP scheduled for July. That's good. You'll study for this. Will this put you in a good position to stand out? Well, the CISSP and the Solution Architect Pro will make your resume stand out enough to get an interview. But if you don't do all those other things that we're talking about, it's meaningless. But having those two certifications will help you get the interview. But if you don't do all those other things we're talking about, just because you get an interview doesn't mean anything. You got to get hired and close the deal. So, will that help you stand out? A little. Now, here's the thing. If you've got all these certifications on your resume, but you got an engineering resume, it's going to make you stand out as not hireable. So it's still going to depend on what's on your resume. Is your resume showing digital transformation or showing techiness? Is it showing leadership? Is it showing techiness? Is it showing sales or is it showing techiness? So it depends. It depends what's on your resume, how it's written. Is it showing sales, communication skills, executive presence? Is it showing your ability to lead? Is it showing your ability to transform? So the key is that. But TTZ, before I actually answer that question, because you didn't actually say your goal career. So if you could tell me your goal career, I can tell you whether that's a good plan or not plan. I don't know your career. Because it's going to be different for a cloud security engineer than it would be for a cloud security architect than it would be for an offensive security person. So kind of let me know what you'd like to do with it. And I can give you an accurate answer. Otherwise, it's just conjecture. Exactly. Mike, the cyber boot camp was 3 months, but upon graduation, you realize the best of your skills is knowledge through personal research and lab every day you work in retail. Exactly. So the best of what it comes is what you learn on your own. On your own. Retail's not a bad place. And interestingly enough, I know people that make a lot of money with retail knowledge working in the retail industry, the consumer products group or retail, as architects designing solutions for retail because they've got industry expertise about the retail industry. Cloud security engineer. Okay, so that's a tough one. So the cloud security engineer is going to be a lot deeper than the CISSP. So on the cloud security engineering side, do you want to be on the offensive side or do you want to be on the defensive side? The CISSP is about a mile wide and an inch deep because it's more of an architect certification, but it still stands out. So make sure you understand operating systems and operating system vulnerabilities and how to lock these systems down because you're going to be doing it, how to disable unnecessary services in Linux and Windows systems, how to be setting up your access lists, the kind of firewalls that you need to know, the next generation firewalls and when to use them and how to architect them and how to architect the virtual ones in the cloud. It'll be, the IDS, IPS systems and how to configure that. You're going to need to know lots about like Cisco NetFlow or VPC flow logs and being able to diagnose these things. Really get down into microservice kind of security as well, application security, security policies, hands-on. So those certifications are fine. They're totally fine, etc. But make sure you've got the actual knowledge to back them up because what's in these certifications will not be enough knowledge to do the job at all. It'll be about 5% of the knowledge to do the job. So make sure you've got hands-on experience with Windows and Linux and securing these systems, hands-on experience with firewalls, IDS, IPS systems, VPN concentrators, hands-on experience with security policy, hands-on experience ideally with some of the Kali Linux tools to break into systems because you're going to have to test, make sure your stuff works. So kind of make sure there's that. All those things will help you. And then the certifications will make it look better. And for the engineer, you can keep the AWS security specialty. Employers aren't going to think it means much, but having that in addition to the CISSP and an Architect Pro is a start. And here's the reason why. Engineers, we can get away with a few more certifications than architects. So you've done it, you can keep it. I wouldn't waste my time and redo it next time, but the CISSP will be helpful for you. Make sure you've got the knowledge because that's what's going to be the difference. Knowledge versus certification. Got a bunch of buzzwords and acronyms over there. The only thing I understand there is NIST, RMF. I don't know if you're talking about radio frequency and CMMC. I know lots of things like that. So I don't know what you mean by that. You've got to ask me in actual words if you want me to be able to help you, not acronyms. Because acronyms mean lots of things. PVC could mean premature virtual contraction, which I think it would mean, or a permanent virtual circuit, or a polyvinyl chloride. Just too much confusion over there. Sandeep, on my thoughts on cloud rendering, I have no idea what you actually mean. Could you put it into some context for me? Eddie Patrick, please do not forget to like this video and share to help others. Please like it, comment on it, share it. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe and hit the bell because we're going to have a lot of free stuff that I want you guys to know about. Thanks, Eddie. Chindu, great. Thank you, Mike. You have paid for the Security Plus. Your background is customer service and business management with an MBA. Glad you joined this live service. Thank you, Go Cloud Careers. Anything we can do to help you, Chindu. I just want to see you get to your goals and do fantastic, and have the best career. Please come back. We'll do anything we can to help you. Mr. Pitts, hi, Mike. It's official you joined yesterday. Oh, I'm so excited. I hope to see you in class today at noon Eastern, 5 p.m. UK time. Today is Leadership Day, so it's going to be lots of fun. Hi, you're new to tech. Before registering for any class, do you think I should learn first becoming a cloud architect, programming, or networking? You're really stuck. Well, I got to tell you this. I have one course that covers everything you need in the single course. So if you take mine, you'll take one course, and by the time you're done, you should be hired, just like the rest of my students. And we will let you stay in our program for up to a year until you're hired. So there's that. We are going to be teaching you architecture. Now, learning programming is a completely useless skill for the architect. So don't waste your time for that if you want to be an architect. We don't code. We don't configure. We design, present, and sell. Networking is very important, but we teach networking. So you can learn it with us, or you can learn networking on your own. I don't care. Or you could learn all the skills that we've talked about throughout this presentation. But if you learn networking, which is good, on your own, it's going to be pretty challenging. Now, we teach the networking and make it pretty easy. I used to teach systems engineers or sales engineers at Cisco Networking because I worked there. I used to teach sales engineers and systems engineers at WorldCom when I worked there. I used to teach systems engineers at Riverstone, which is now Nokia. So I've been teaching networking forever. And I'll tell you one thing, it'll be easier with us than it will be on your own. We even have a free CCNA boot camp on our channel, which you can use to learn some networking. So that's fine. But here's the thing. The average cloud architect earns $600 a day. A good one earns double that easily, and more if they're really good. So if you take our course and 8 to 12 months later, you're hired. If you try to learn networking on your own, which will be extremely challenging, unless you're willing to spend good money for networking training. And you can go to the Cisco Academy for networking training, and it's good. But it'll be, $5,000 or $10,000 to get you the networking that you need. But it's good. Global Knowledge will want a good networking thing too. But what you're going to find on Udemy is not going to be what you need. You need good quality training, and we provide that. But here's the thing. If it costs you 6 months of time to do the networking, and then you come to us, and we have to start you from ground zero anyway, and here's the reason. We know you're not going to know if networking on your own. It's going to take us the same 8 to 12 months as it did if you started on your own. Because all those other skills, the soft skills, the leadership skills, are going to take forever to learn too. So by doing it this way, if you learn that on your own for 6 months and then with us for a year, that's now 18 months. Now, the average cloud architect earns $600 a day. So by trying to do it this way on your own, it'll cost you 6 months at $12,000 a day. Minimum, if you're lucky, you lose $72,000. So you got to do what you want to do. But there's a reason I made a one-stop shop. I made this one-stop shop for a reason. I've been an architect now for a quarter of a century. I know the job. Most of the certification courses are taught by people that know nothing about architecture. They were engineers and gave themselves architect titles after they took a certification themselves, and they're now teaching it. So because of that, I created it all in a single program. But if you want to learn networking fast, go to the Cisco Networking Academy or Global Knowledge and learn networking. That's good networking. Or do our free CCNA thing, which is on our YouTube channel, which you can see here. Or just take our course, and we'll teach you everything you need to know in our 500-hour training program. When you're done, you should get a job. The rest of our students do. So that's the ways you can do it. But here's the problem of you thinking you know what you know. And people come to me, Mike, should I learn this and learn this and learn this? And here's what people do. They learn programming. They learn sysops. They learn maintenance. And then they come to me and they say, Mike, how am I going to use this? And I'm going to say, you can't. It's somebody else's job. You got to unlearn all that and learn it the way and mindset of an architect. Because an architect thinks differently than an engineer. So if I ask this to an engineer, if I say I've got a house in Alaska, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and the nearest person is 12 hours away, and it's January, and the heater's broken, what's the problem? The engineers will say the heater's broken, we got to go fix it. The architect will say, wait, I've got a house in Alaska. The heaters are broken. It's January. There's nobody that can get here for 12 hours. The architect mindset will say, if there's people inside, they're going to freeze to death. The architect might say, the pipes will burst if we can't get the things. So the architect will be in there trying to start a fire from firewood, turning on an oven for gas, or something they can do to raise the temperature. The engineer is going to be trying to fix that heater, which they can't because they can't get somebody there for 12 hours. So engineering thinking and architecture thinking have to be different because the engineer needs to zoom in on the problem and solve that problem. The architect needs to take a big step back. So be very careful with any engineering training because it makes you harder to be an architect later. It's a thinking issue. So I want you to think of the architecture as the sky. And this is why I don't like when people keep asking, and there's too much engineering. Tonight, if you go out and look at the sky, you will see the Big Dipper, the Little Dipper, the moon. You'll see everything. Maybe some clouds, the whole sky. That's the architect view. Big picture. How does this thing affect this thing, which affects this thing, which affects this thing? That's why the architects are designers. By comparison, if you take a telescope and zoom in at 200x on the moon, you're not even going to see the whole moon. You'll see a crater on the moon, some light refraction on the moon. It's pretty. I can't tell you. I've done it. I love it. I love looking at the telescope to the moon. But here's the thing. I can't see the sky anymore. So the architect needs to see the sky. So if you focus too much on the engineering, you'll develop the wrong engineering mindset. And then after that, then you're going to run into trouble. Because you're going to have to unlearn that thinking. And that's the biggest challenge. Okay, there's some good theoretical academic frameworks. They're theoretical in nature, just like NIST, and that there's a whole bunch of fluffy guidance in there, in theory, but tying that theory to reality or something that's very, very different. But the fact that you're working in that is at least a good start. Very good start. Jet lag, I'm an introvert. Doesn't look like it now, but I've had a lot of training. Here's what determines what's a good job for you. What do you want to do? Sounds crazy, but you got to do what you love. The average person spends 8 to 12 hours a day working when they have a good job. They do. So you got to love it. So if you want something, go do it. I was an introvert, but I wanted this because it was a better job. So I fought for it. I worked for it. I was the shyest person you'll ever meet. You wouldn't know it now, but that's the key. So the key for you is you have to determine what you want. And once you know what you want, then it's just a matter of getting the skills for the thing you want. If you can learn how to give presentations and be happy, then it's the greatest thing in the world. But if it's going to make you sick, then it's not a good idea. So it's truly about you. I will tell you, nothing good is going to come without its pain. Nothing good. If it did, we'd have all leaders. The reason we only have basically 5% of the population that's successful is they're the ones that are willing to work hard enough to get there. So they stand out. Now, there's lots of people that are fine. What's success? I don't know what success is. If you're happy, it's successful. But if you're trying to get these bigger, harder jobs, you got to work for them. And it's not going to be comfortable. Now, in my MBA program, I had to get through some college statistics and algebra. I hate math. You don't understand. I hate math. Like, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. Now, my wife can do calculus in her head. She's very smart, smarter than me. She loves math. I hate math. Now, did I do the math? Yeah. Was it painful? Yeah. Did I hate every last second of it? Yeah, but I did it because I had to. So what I'd say is your career should be something that you desire to. And there will be times in the way to your destination that it won't be comfortable. Success is not comfortable. So if your goal is to be a solution architect and you desire to do it, learn how to do it. You'll be comfortable after you do it. Nothing's practice. Did you know jet lag, the average person is more afraid of giving a speech in public than to actually die? I mean, think about that. The average person is more afraid to give a public speech than to die. It's irrational. Completely irrational. Completely irrational. So kind of keep those things in the back of your mind. And that'll make sense for you. Do what you love. Do what you want. Do it with passion. So there's no good or bad job or good or bad idea. There's what's going to make you happy. So if you can be happy in it, I recommend it. If you're not going to be happy in it, do something else, like be a cloud engineer, be a lawyer, be a doctor, be an airplane pilot, be whatever is going to make you happy. Chris, you can go to the next one. If you email our team and desire someone from our team to speak to you, someone will call you on WhatsApp. And that way, you can ask a question just to a member of my team. So you can email us at info@gocloudcareers.net. And if you email us at info@gocloudcareers.net, someone will call you back. We have lots of students in Nigeria. We've got probably 250 to 300 Nigerian students. We've got a good 250 to 300 Cameroonian students as well. And they're all doing fantastic. So you can email us at the list. My team just popped in the thing, and then someone from my team will call you back on WhatsApp. Asha, do I recommend any trainings to become a good cloud IAM architect? Asha, I don't know enough about being an IAM architect to really answer that intelligently. IAM is typically not the kind of thing that the big enterprise people like me get involved in, but there usually are some people, but it's not my strength, so I don't want to guide you improperly. Chris, we can go to the next one. Hi, Tyrone. Tyrone's over there in Cape Town. How you doing, Tyrone? It's good to see you today. I think you're in Cape Town. Good day, Tyrone. Hi, Mike. Can you mention the roles in cloud where coding would be less involved? Also, if you mention what scripting language to learn. Ashish, it depends on the job you want. Architects don't code. Sales reps don't code. And project managers don't code. So those three jobs have no coding. Cloud engineers code. DevOps engineers really code. Programmers really code. Network engineers in today's days are writing scripting and coding. So pretty much the only jobs that don't involve coding involve sales reps, project or program managers, and architects. We don't touch the technology. So they are the roles where there's not a lot of coding. And every one of these jobs, the other ones, all have different scripting and coding languages, so it's dependent upon the job. Okay, so I've got approximately 5 to 10 minutes. If there's any other questions, let me know, because I'd love to answer your questions. I want to make sure that we can assist you. And until that time, as a reminder, right now we've got 30% off of all our programs to help you get cloud hired. We get people cloud hired every day. Chris, I know, is back every time somebody gets hired. My COO is calling people on the phone, and he's doing an interview about them. Normally, for most of the people that we got hired, we never even bothered with. And here was my view. You get people hired every day. What are we going to make a video of the day? And then Chris from my team very astutely said, we need to make videos of this so all the other students can see our students getting cloud hired. So check out some of the cloud hires on our channel. Make sure that if you're not subscribed for next week, that you become part of our Azure Solution Architect Bootcamp. So we want everybody getting as many skills as we have. That's why we're doing it completely free. There's no charge. It's going to be live training. It's not going to be PowerPoint slides with audio. It's going to be real training. We'll train you for 20 minutes. We'll let you ask questions for 10 minutes. And it is going to be real training. And then, Chris, there's one from videos to. And before we do this, let's talk about next Thursday. We will have our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. And on this webinar, it'll be on Zoom. We will present for approximately an hour. And then you'll be able to come off mute. Live, we'll be able to look at each other, talk to each other on Zoom, and ask me questions. And I do that all the time. Klaus, you're more than welcome. Let's get to video to views question. I don't want anybody starting out with a CompTIA certification ever. So videos to views, you have no experience in cybersecurity and have no neurotechnology. I will tell you this, video to views, never, never, never do a CompTIA certification. And I don't have anything wrong against the CompTIA certifications, but here's the thing. The certifications themselves are good, but what I care about is which certifications employers care about. There is nothing in the A+ that will help you in any career. The A+ is PC repair. So if you're A+ and Net Plus or PC repair, basic intro to networking, if your goal is to work in help desk, then maybe it's useful. If you'd like to work at the Best Buy Geek Squad in PC repair, they like the CompTIA A+ Net Plus, but there's nothing in there that's valuable at all. Nothing. The first intro certification that I would do would be something like a CCNA, a Cisco Certified Network Associate, where you're going to learn something, if I was going to do it. No, videos to VH, you just take our course, you'll learn everything you need to, and you won't be wasting any of your time on CompTIA things. But no, I wouldn't do any CompTIA certifications whatsoever. I wouldn't waste my time, effort, or money on them for any reason. The CCNA is good. The CCNP is good. The AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional is good. The VMware Certified Professional is good. All these things are intro. Even the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, that's a junior level certification. People think it's a lot, but it's not. I never did CompTIA stuff. I never started at the bottom. I don't recommend it to anybody. Because what happens is you do this, and it's not enough for anything, and then you got to do another set of certifications, and that's going to be enough, and you got to do another one. Just start with the end certifications. When we do our Azure Solution Architect Expert Bootcamp, we'll talk enough about things from the beginning that it makes sense. Now, these little horrible things that you find out there that are PowerPoint slides, name of the service, how to configure that, that's not going to teach anything other than how to configure. But learn the network, learn the data center. Cisco has great books on networking, great ones. Cisco has great books on data center technologies, great books. Stevens has good books on TCP/IP. There's a lot of good technology out there, but don't waste your time with a CompTIA anything. It's not going to help you. And unless your goal is help desk or to work at the Best Buy Geek Squad doing PC repair, reinstalling an operating system. So I wouldn't recommend it. We are not dealing with PC repair. We're dealing with servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, firewalls, block storage, object storage, and none of that stuff is covered in CompTIA anything. So don't waste your time with it. Now, if your goal is to be help desk, do CompTIA certifications. If your goal is to work at the Geek Squad at Best Buy, do CompTIA certifications. But if your goal is cloud, skip this. Go straight to something more meaningful, like the CCNA as a replacement for the A+, or for the Net Plus, and I wouldn't do the CompTIA at all. The MCSC is the equivalent of the CompTIA that employers would care about, but we don't do PC repair. We don't do PC anything. And then videos to views, it really matters what they like to do. For example, architecture careers are going to be more networking and data center stuff. Cloud engineering careers would be more like learn Linux. And no, I don't mean Linux Plus. I'm not talking about wasting your time with that. I'm talking about a Red Hat thing. If you wanted to be a cloud engineer, get a Red Hat, like a Red Hat certified engineer. Don't waste any time on intro certifications ever. Employers don't use them for anything, and they don't benefit you. So don't waste your time. Put your time in a high-value target. I hope I answered your question in videos to you. So I may be able to take one more question. Chindu, I'm so happy. I want to be able to do anything we can to help you guys build your best careers. Thank you for asking your questions. Collins, that's the reason why we're doing this, to change people's lives, and thank you. Please share this content. Please share our free bootcamp. Please share our completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar on Thursday. We want to help people build careers so they're not stuck on the sidelines. How can you start a career in cloud computing? David, what career would you like to have in cloud computing? Because there's thousands of different careers. And if we don't know which career, then the advice will be completely misguided. So you have to tell us what career. Because there's architects that design, there's engineers that build, there's maintenance people, there's DevOps engineers that automate, there's software developers in the cloud, there's database admins in the cloud, there's security engineers in the cloud, security architects, thousands and thousands of different topics. So we need to know which one because they all have a different career path. Alonzo, yes, please check out our content on LinkedIn every day. I post something on LinkedIn, and here's what I posted today on LinkedIn. Maybe my team will post it. An article that was published in Hacker Noon about how to get your first cloud architect job and why certifications are not the path. And you'll see this in all kinds of major publications that we've written. But people ask us to write these articles every day because of our expertise in getting people cloud hired. So please check out this article. It's completely free for you to read on LinkedIn. We write them constantly. So I'd like to thank everyone for their time today. I love the questions that have been asked. You guys came in with some really great questions. And it makes me happy because you guys are asking the right questions, so I know how to help you build your career. The shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, and I don't want to see anybody meandering back and forth all over the place to get to their career, and that's why I dedicate 2 hours 3 times a week to do this completely free. And then on Thursday, I have the completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. So get cloud hired. I'm going to end that we have a 30% sale off of all of our products right now because we want to get you cloud hired. We know the impact of inflation is really nasty. We know it's affecting you and your pocketbooks as it's affecting everybody. So the best way to plan around it is to raise your salary so that if gas becomes $20 a gallon, you're still not going to care because it won't affect your finances. And that's why we do what we do. So hope you had a great time today. Can't wait to see you in another video. Cloud hired, everybody.